Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and these are the iPhone 13 models. These are manufactured to give case manufacturers an idea of where the port placement is, the overall dimensions and size of the upcoming iPhone. And thanks to Sonny Dixon for helping me get my hands on these. Now, I've looked at these for the past few years, and they do tend to be pretty close to what the final will look like. So as you can see, here's the 12 Pro Max, the model unit here, and it's a little bit different than what we had with the final version, and then again the 11 Pro Max. So it gives us a general idea of overall size, but the camera module, for example, won't be perfect. However, it did show us a port that we weren't sure about previously. So on the 12 Pro Max, for example, we have the millimeter wave antenna, and it was a cutout on this model. So it showed us an idea of what to expect, and it was pretty close. Now, if we take a look here, you'll see there's 4 different models this year, as we would expect. So we have 3 different sizes, 4 different models, and Apple could call this the 2021 iPhone, the iPhone 12s, or the iPhone 13. We'll just go with iPhone 13 for now, but as you can see, again, we have a new mini size, and there's some obvious differences here between the current one and what we have with this model, but the mini is said to be coming out for this year also, and it may be the last year that they manufacture it based on poor sales. Now, that could just be a rumor at this point, or it could be true, but either way, we'll have it this year, it seems, and you'll see it looks slightly different from the 12 mini that I have in my left hand. So the camera module is the biggest change. So from a design perspective, it looks basically the same, but they made the cameras diagonally from the top left to the bottom right, and then moved the flash in the upper right and the microphone to the bottom left. This seems to make a lot of sense. The last year's models were very similar to what we had here with the camera layout, and I do think the new model looks a little bit better with that diagonal camera. But maybe they're making room for some improved sensors, as we've heard that there's supposed to be sensor shift stabilization on at least the Pro models, and maybe all models with enhancements to the cameras overall. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, also you can see that the 13 gets the same sort of layout, and then the 13 Pro and Pro Max have a larger camera module. So this seems to be a little bit larger than what we expected on the 12 Pro Max, or what we have. You'll see it's actually significantly larger, and again, probably due to that sensor shift stabilization that we expect in multiple cameras this year. There's also enhancements that are said to be coming to the ultra-wide camera as well, with autofocus and more, and maybe even larger sensors, possibly even 8K, for example. Now, as you can see, there's just one color that I have here. It's a white color, but we do expect there to be very similar colors where they would be glossy on the regular models, with the Pros having a matte finish. Now, as far as the colors overall, well, it's said that the Pacific Blue is going to be replaced with an orange color. Now, this may or may not be true, but there's said to be an updated orange. We got Pacific Blue to replace the green of the previous year, so I would expect some sort of replacement this year. I've heard orange, I've heard purple as well, but I think orange could be a pretty nice looking color. It just depends what color it is. So we'll have to see what Apple decides to do with that overall. Now, the design overall, let's take a look at that around the outside edge, as it seems to be pretty similar, but the screen is a little bit different. Now, if we take a look on the edge, we'll use the 12 Pro Max for comparison. It's basically the same. You have your silent switch in the same place, volume buttons in the same place, almost the same place. Everything's just shifted up slightly, and then again, SIM card tray. So the SIM card tray is shifted up a little bit, the volume buttons maybe a little bit, but everything else seems to be the same, including the line for the antenna. On the bottom, again, it's the same, where we would have our microphone, Lightning port, and speaker. No move to USB-C this year, it seems, again, so we're sticking with Lightning. And then on the other side, this model does not have a cutout for millimeter wave, although there's said to be enhancements to 5G. Maybe they were able to incorporate that differently, or maybe it's just not on the model since it's not important to the case designs. And then, of course, you have your power sleep wake button, but nothing there is different. And that's true of all of these different models. So there's not really any change to the overall design on any of them, whether it be the Pro or not. However, I did notice one thing I wanted to mention, and that's the overall thickness. The thickness does seem to be a little bit different, where the 13 model is ever so slightly thicker than the 12 Pro Max. And this is said to maybe accommodate a larger battery, will have better battery life, and maybe enhanced displays. So that's possible that they could make it thicker, maybe a 0.5 millimeter thicker, but it does look to be a little bit larger. Now, with the iPhone 13 Pro Max being a little bit thicker, it could accommodate a larger battery, like I said. The 12 Pro Max has a 3,678 milliamp hour battery, and that gives it 8 to 10, sometimes 12 hours of screen on time. Maybe if they could bump that up to 4,000 milliamp hours, maybe we could even get 14 hours of screen on time. So I would love to see them accommodate an even larger battery with that more efficient processor that's said to be in there. Now, also the device is a little bit thicker and the camera bump isn't as large. However, on these models, they tend to be not representative of the overall thickness, but it's possible they could shrink that in since the phone would be a little bit thicker. The module could be a little bit smaller than what we have already. Now, on the display, they don't show a notch here, and I would expect a notch since we have a camera there, but on all of these, you'll notice that the earpiece or the earphone speaker is at the very top. It's not like that on the actual model of the iPhone 12 or 12 Pro Max. It's in the middle of the notch. It looks like they've moved it at the top on all of these models. And again, these are fairly representative of what to expect. So it seems like they would be at the very top of the display. Now, whether or not they were able to completely get rid of the notch, I doubt that. Many people have said that it's going to shrink, but it looks like they've relocated the camera from the side of the speakerphone or the earphone to the bottom of it or right below it. So it seems like they have changed this up a little bit and we could expect some changes there. And that's true on all of these models. So you'll see it's at the top on every one of them. And if we match that up to the 12 Pro, you'll see that the earpiece is at the top instead of in the middle of where a notch could be. This could be great news for those who don't really care for the notch, but the overall move to shrink the notch seems to be the way we're going. So that seems to be what we should expect. Now, as far as the display itself, it is said to be at least having ProMotion on the higher end displays, but we could have ProMotion, 120 hertz like you would expect, and that smaller notch. Now, again, improved 5G, and also the price is said to remain the same. So there shouldn't be any sort of price increase according to what people are saying at this point, although you just don't know until Apple actually announces it. So those are just rumors as far as that goes. But the overall layout seems to be the same as last year, and I really like the squared off design. I know some people don't. They prefer the rounded design, but when Apple switched to this, it reminded me of going back to an iPhone 4, 4S, or 5, or 5S, and those are my favorite era of iPhone. So now we have that squared off design and I really, really like it. It feels very solid and premium and it makes sense that they would keep it since they redesigned it last year. So I wouldn't expect much of a design change other than camera enhancements and a change to the display, which could be pretty major for a lot of people. I really welcome that. And if they put the earpiece there, that seems to make a lot of sense. If we take a look at the prototype from the previous year, it shows that there was a notch. So you'll see even on the model here that there was a notch. On this year's model, there strangely is no notch. Maybe they're able to hide it a little bit better. I'm not sure, but I would expect a smaller notch that's narrower instead of just disappearing altogether. So on the 12 Pro, for example, I would expect them to shrink it this way, horizontally compared to vertically. So maybe they found a way to do both. But that's it for a first look at what it could look like. I'm pretty sure this is what they'll look like. It's been accurate every single year, so that makes a lot of sense. Now, if you're going to pick up an iPhone 13, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below, or even if you're going to stick with what you've got now, since iOS 15 supports all the way back to the iPhone 6S series phone. If you're content with your phone, that's great as well, but I'd love to hear from you if you're picking one of these up or what you think about that orange color as well. If that's something that appeals to you or you think they should do a different color, let me know what you think would be best in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.